If you clicked on this video out of curiosity because it's relevant to your life, I want to offer you hope and encouragement today. What you need to remember is that God does not operate within your limiting beliefs and does not conform to what society deems as normal for certain ages and stages of life. God is outside of time and is above all of this, but these are concepts of man that we impart on ourselves that may or may not be true. For the most part are not true. So you might think, well, in order to buy a house I need to get a mortgage for 30 years and I'm too old to be accepted, so I can't get a house. Or to have value in society I need a certain degree, or I should have a spouse and children by 30. These are all ideas that society has given to you and you just keep hold of them. It's worth knowing that J.K. Rowling was, when she was 31, she was a single mother who had been rejected by loads of publishers. She went on to be one of the best-selling authors. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, found success at 62. Your life path is outside of the time limits that society puts on you. So you might be worrying that I lost 10 years to addiction, or I've lost all of this time to a relationship that didn't work out. How am I going to get that time back? But you need to remember, it's not wasted time. It was always part of the plan. So I'll give you an example. You need to catch a bus at 9 o'clock. You turn up at the bus stop, some things happen so you're slightly late and you miss the bus. That's wasted time. You've now got to wait an hour for the next bus, and you could sit there scrolling on your phone trying to kill time. You're angry, you're annoyed that you missed the bus. When in reality, you were meant to miss the bus because you prayed last night. You said, Lord, I'm lonely. I would like a spouse. Please bring somebody into my life. And they're coming to catch the next bus. So they walk up at 9:25 to catch the next bus. And there they are. You were meant to miss the bus. It's not wasted time at all. But the problem is, the word sin means to miss the point. And you can miss the point. Anger is a sin. So if you're sat there angry, you're scrolling on your phone, and this beautiful person comes up, your future spouse, and says, oh, hey, do you know what the time is? I left my phone at home, or whatever. And you just angrily look at them and say, yeah, it's 9:15, and go back to scrolling on your phone. You've missed the point. You're angry that you missed the bus, but you were meant to miss the bus to meet this person. You asked for it. You know, this isn't manifestation, but things have lined up. And this is the same for everything in your life. So we tend to value these things, the house, the kids, the mortgage, and obviously you want to build a fruitful life. But what matters is your soul. What is the state of your soul in? And the beauty is, it's right now. Your soul is eternal. It's outside of time and outside of the constraints of your limiting beliefs. So you miss the bus. Two different people can deal with that differently. You could sit there angrily and miss all of these beautiful blessings that are coming to you. The next person, who maybe has faith, goes, I wonder why I missed the bus. You know, not everything in your life will be like this, but sometimes you're meant to miss the bus. So to give you an example, you might look at your friends and say, oh, they're getting married and I don't even have a partner yet. I'm so far behind. But then you wait a few years and it doesn't work out and they get divorced. And then you think, oh, well, I'm ahead or on time. So these are just stories you're telling yourself. You don't know what God's plan is. You can't predict the future, and you only know in hindsight how certain things played out. So be careful to compare yourself to other people's timelines. So remember, God can speed you up and slow you down in all of the areas that matter to you. Belief, health, wealth, relationships. And there's a reason for it. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Say you want a spouse, you yearn for a partner. Well, that person might not be ready for you, and you might have to be stalled and slowed down for a year for your paths to line up. To get two people to meet that are meant to meet, because everybody's got their own dreams and desires, that's quite a hard thing to do. So you don't know why you can't make sense of it until it happens. And you think, oh, I had to have that car crash so that I took that time off work, so that I had to go to hospital to get physio, and then I met that beautiful person. now are you grateful for the car crash? So God can slow you down, and might have done. This is why you clicked on this video, because you've lost time in your life. But just remember that you can be accelerated massively as well. And I've experienced this. I've had times where I feel like I'm 10 years behind everybody else. And then all of a sudden, the ball starts rolling and you think, well, hang on a minute, I'm gaining momentum here. And that can happen for you, but you can't miss the point. You have to see the value. So you've got to ask, what is the value of this thing? And it's to enhance your soul. It's about growth, development, and the Bible verse comes to mind: what does it profit a man if he gains the world but loses his soul? God doesn't want some soulless person with everything. So there's value in this time, and have faith, because you will be accelerated, and you will be, well, you're right on time already. If you've just lost 10 years to addiction, that addiction is trying to teach you something. That's bolstering and enhancing your soul. So learn the lesson. And the way you do that is by being present. Accept the present moment exactly as it is, and go, right, I have faith that this is part of the plan. And from my experience, I found God when everything was crumbling down. I found God when it was all falling apart. So this is actually quite easy for me, because I thought, even though everything's sort of going to hell in a handbasket, if you want to put it that way, I've got faith that you look at nature. I quite like nature. The tree grows tall, and then sometimes it sort of gets a disease and then falls over. But that tree rotting in the ground feeds the next tree. So I thought, even if my life happens to be the tree that gets, fallen down and provides food for the next trees, then I'm happy with that. If my life is a catastrophic failure, I still believe that is part of God's plan. So it's easy for me to have faith. If you find God when it's all crumbling down, and I found when I implemented that mindset, everything started getting better. And I mean, it can't get worse, so that was bound to happen. But this reminds me of the Job story. And from what I understand, Job had everything. And the devil, he had the wife, the children, the land and riches. And the devil said, well, Job's only got faith because he's got all these things. And God said, okay, we'll test that out. So he took all these things away. I think his children died. He lost all his wealth, and he started getting illnesses. And Job maintained faith, because he knows that God can take time away from you, essentially, and accelerate you and give it back. So he still had faith. And seeing this, God restored back to him everything he had. So he had more land, he had a partner, had children, and his children were the most beautiful people in the land. And the California fires, kind of, I don't watch the news very much, but I saw little clips of people that had lost their houses in the California fires. And it struck me that everybody is at different stages of their Job story. So there was one family, and you can also see how people deal with it. So one family, the house had completely burnt down, but there was just a statue of Mary left in the middle of the footprint of the house. And they're all stood round praying and singing to this statue. And you think, well, God has just burnt your house down. It took you 30 years to pay for that on a mortgage, and God has taken 30 years away from you. You are now homeless. But because they have faith and they know this, they're stood around praying. We weren't in the house when it burnt down. And if God has taken that time away, he can restore it at an accelerated rate. That's just how it works. It's outside of your limiting beliefs. Oh, well, it took me 30 years to get the house. It's going to take me another 30. Maybe not. You don't know how God works. And you know this is true because one person can spend 30 years paying a mortgage to buy a house, and then somebody else can buy a Lamborghini in 6 months because they're dancing on TikTok. God works in mysterious ways, and everybody is at different stages of their Job story. Some have the riches, some it's been taken away. But what matters is your soul. Your soul is timeless. Your soul does not depend on these external things. So don't judge the TikTok dancer, Don't judge the person with the 30-year mortgage, and don't judge yourself for not being where society says you should be at your age. Work on your soul and accept that you are exactly where you need to be. Don't miss the point. Don't be so stuck that you're focused on what you should have by now that you can't accept what you do have. I hope that helps. Speak to you soon.